Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless Official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The air inside the hospital corridor felt thick, every sound muted by the overwhelming tension that clung to the walls. Sharon Newman stood frozen, staring down at the crumpled piece of paper in her trembling hand. Her eyes widened as if they were seeing something impossible, something her heart could never have prepared for. Nurses bustled around her, and machines beeped faintly behind the door to Noah's room, but all Sharon could hear was her own heartbeat, rapid, uneven, thunderous. The letters written on that paper weren't just ink, they were a dagger cutting through every piece of peace she had ever known. It's someone we know," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Someone we trusted." Just minutes earlier, Sharon and Nick had been sitting quietly outside the ICU, praying for a miracle. Noah's condition had been critical ever since the crash that nearly claimed his life. He had been unconscious for days, leaving everyone clinging to hope that he would wake and tell them what really happened that night. They'd been told it was an accident, that his car had gone off the road during the storm, but deep down, both Sharon and Nick knew something didn't add up. The security footage from the nearby gas station had mysteriously vanished. The brakes on Noah's car had been tampered with. And now, the note he had written before losing consciousness again, was the final piece of the horrifying puzzle. When Sharon first saw the folded paper tucked under Noah's pillow, she thought it was just a nurse's update. But the second she recognized her son's shaky handwriting, her chest tightened. It was a single line, written in smudged blue ink. "The person who hurt me was," followed by a name that would soon turn Genoa City upside down. She gasped, a scream bursting from her lungs so piercing that it echoed down the entire ward. "Nick," she cried out, stumbling backward against the wall as the note fluttered from her hand. Her cry wasn't just a reaction, it was a mother's raw agony, a sound so primal that it stopped every passerby in their tracks. Within seconds, Nick Newman came running, his heart pounding with fear. He had never heard Sharon sound like that before. "Sharon, what is it?" he demanded, gripping her shoulders. "What's wrong? Is it Noah? Did something happen?" Sharon could barely speak. She pointed at the paper now lying on the floor, her voice breaking into fragments. He wrote it, Nick. He wrote the name of the person who did this to him." Nick's blood ran cold. He picked up the note, his hands trembling as his eyes scanned the uneven letters. The name written there made his jaw tighten, his breath catching in disbelief. "No," he muttered. "No, this can't be right. That's impossible." The name was Audra Charles. For a moment, silence hung between them like a ghost. Sharon's lip quivered as tears spilled down her cheeks. "He wouldn't lie, Nick. Noah wouldn't write that name unless he meant it." Nick turned away, his mind spiraling. Audra had been Noah's ex, the woman who'd once claimed to love him but had left behind a trail of manipulation, betrayal, and corporate chaos. She had tangled herself with Tucker, with Nate, even with Kyle, but Noah had once believed she could change. He'd given her a second chance. Now it seemed she'd taken something from him far worse than his trust. She'd nearly taken his life. "Noah must have realized something before the crash," Sharon whispered, clutching her chest as the reality began to sink in. "He must have found out the truth, and she silenced him." Nick's fury ignited like wildfire. "If Audra had anything to do with this," he said through gritted teeth, "she's not walking away this time." He stormed toward the door, but Sharon caught his arm. "Nick, wait. We need to think. We can't just..." But Nick was beyond reasoning. His protective instincts had taken over, and his mind flashed with images of his son lying broken and bloodied in that hospital bed. Noah trusted her. He loved her. And she used that to destroy him. His voice cracked, rage mixing with heartbreak. "She doesn't get to win again, Sharon. Not this time." Meanwhile, outside the hospital, a black SUV sat idling under the streetlight. Inside, Audra Charles adjusted her sunglasses even though the night was falling. Her expression was unreadable, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. A single text notification blinked on the screen, "He knows." Her stomach dropped. She had been careful, painfully careful. There was no way Noah could have known what she did, no way he could have pieced together her connection to the sabotage. And yet, the message confirmed what she feared most: someone had found out. Damn it, she hissed under her breath, starting the engine. She needed to disappear, fast. Back in Noah's hospital room, Sharon had collapsed into a chair beside her son, holding his hand tightly. "You did so good, baby," she whispered, brushing his hair back. "You told us what we needed to know. I promise you, we'll get justice." Her tears fell silently onto the sheets. Nick stood near the doorway, torn between vengeance and despair. He wanted to tear the city apart until he found Audra, but looking at Sharon's broken face reminded him that Noah needed them both calm and focused. As the night deepened, the hospital filled with whispers. News spread fast in Genoa City, especially when it involved a Newman. Victor Newman was soon informed, and his reaction was as explosive as expected. Within an hour, his black car pulled up to the hospital, and he stormed inside with that familiar fire in his eyes. "Where is she?" Victor demanded. "Where's Audra, Charles?" Nick tried to explain, but Victor's fury needed no confirmation. "That woman thought she could come after my grandson," he growled. "She'll learn what it means to cross a Newman." Sharon pleaded for restraint. "Victor, please. Let the police handle this." But Victor wasn't listening. He was already on his phone, calling in favors, activating every connection he had. Elsewhere in town, Audra's name was already trending on social media. Photos of her and Noah from happier times resurfaced, now twisted into tragic reminders of betrayal. Genoa City's residents whispered in disbelief, could Audra really be the one who tried to kill Noah Newman? But things weren't that simple. As Sharon tried to calm herself, a new thought crept into her mind, a horrifying possibility. What if the note wasn't complete? What if Noah had tried to write something else before blacking out? She rushed back into his room, staring at the page again under the harsh fluorescent light. Her breath caught. Right beneath Audra's name, faint and almost invisible, was a smudge, as though Noah's pen had started to write another word before stopping. It wasn't Audra. It was something longer. Something that might mean there was more to the story. "Nick," she whispered. "Look at this. It's not just her name." He was trying to write something else, something after it. Nick leaned closer, his brow furrowed. "What is that?" "Audra Ann." He froze. Oh my God. The faint scrawl looked like it could be another name, Adam. Both of them exchanged horrified glances. Adam Newman? Nick's own brother? The room spun for Sharon. "No, it can't be." "Adam wouldn't," she began, but the evidence was staring back at them, cold and cruel. Before they could say another word, Noah's monitor began to beep wildly. Sharon screamed again, rushing to his side as nurses flooded the room. "Noah! Stay with me, baby, please," she cried. Doctors pushed her back, shouting medical commands, and Sharon's sobs filled the hallway. Nick held her tightly, panic surging through him. He felt helpless, watching the machines fight for their son's life again. When the chaos settled, Noah was stabilized, but barely. The doctor's expression was grim. "He's fighting," he said quietly, "but if there's anything you need to say to him, say it now." Outside the room, Nick leaned against the wall, his fists clenched. "If Adam had anything to do with this, I'll—" "Nick, stop," Sharon interrupted, though her voice was weak. "We can't lose both of them. Not like this." Still, Nick couldn't shake the image of that note. 2 names. 2 betrayals. 2 possible killers. As dawn broke over Genoa City, Audra was already gone. Her apartment was empty. No trace, no luggage, no phone. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. But across town, in the shadows of Newman Enterprises, Adam stood by the window, staring at the skyline with a haunted look. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a photograph, one of him and Noah, from years ago. There was guilt in his eyes, but also something darker. "Why did you have to dig so deep, kid?" he whispered. The door creaked open behind him. Victor entered, silent but intimidating. The two men locked eyes. For a moment, neither spoke, but the tension said everything. "Tell me you had nothing to do with this," Victor said coldly. Adam looked away. "I didn't touch him. But I know who did." Victor's eyes narrowed. "Then say it." Adam took a long breath. It wasn't just Audra. She wasn't working alone. There's someone else, someone even closer to him. The revelation hit Victor like a bullet. "Who?" Adam's voice dropped to a whisper. "Someone Noah trusted completely, someone in this family." Meanwhile, back in the hospital, Sharon sat beside Noah, whispering softly as the morning light filled the room. She didn't know the storm that was coming, the secrets still buried, the betrayals still to unfold. But she made one promise to her unconscious son: "I'll find the truth, Noah. No matter who it is. I'll find them. And they'll pay." Outside, Nick stood by the window, the note still clutched in his hand, the ink smeared by tears and fingerprints. The words burned into his mind: "The person who hurt me was Audra." But below it, the faint second name, Adam, haunted him like a ghost. He whispered to himself, voice raw and hollow, "God help us all if that's true. Because in Genoa City, every secret comes at a price. And this time, the cost of the truth might be more than any of them can bear." The sun had barely risen over Genoa City when Sharon felt the faintest squeeze against her palm. For a moment, she thought she had imagined it, a desperate dream born from exhaustion. But then she felt it again. Her heart skipped. "Noah," she whispered, leaning forward, tears immediately springing to her eyes. "Baby, can you hear me?" Noah's eyelids fluttered weakly, the faintest sound escaping his throat. Sharon's sob caught in her chest as she pressed the call button for the nurse, her voice trembling. "He's awake. My son's awake." Within seconds, the room filled with doctors and nurses. Nick burst through the door, his face pale but hopeful. The machines beeped rhythmically as Noah slowly regained consciousness, his breathing labored but steady. Sharon reached out, brushing her hand across his forehead. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now. You're at Memorial. You've been out for days." Noah's gaze was unfocused at first, his mind struggling to piece together where he was and what had happened. But then the memories came rushing back like shards of glass cutting through the fog. The road. The headlights behind him. The screech of tires. The sound of metal crumpling. A shadow stepping out of the rain. And that voice, a voice he'd never forget. He blinked, locking eyes with his mother. "Mom," he whispered hoarsely. Sharon choked out a sob. "Yes, honey. I'm right here." Nick leaned in, emotion heavy in his throat. "Son, take your time. Just tell us, who did this to you?" Noah swallowed hard, his lips trembling. I tried to write it down," he rasped, voice raw from the ventilator. Sharon nodded, tears streaming. "We saw, baby. You wrote Audra, and then something that looked like Adam." At the sound of the name, Noah's eyes widened, fear flickering across his face. "No," he said weakly. "Not Adam. That's not what I meant." Nick froze. "Then what did you mean? Who else was involved?" Noah's breathing hitched. "It was Audra, but she wasn't alone." The room went completely still. Sharon leaned in closer, gripping his hand. "Who, Noah? Who was with her?" He blinked back tears, his voice barely a whisper. "Someone from Newman. Someone who wanted me gone because of what I found." Nick's blood ran cold. "What you found? What did you find?" Noah's pulse monitor spiked as he tried to speak, his chest rising unevenly. "Files, evidence. Audra was making deals behind the scenes with Tucker, and someone inside Newman Media. His voice trembled. It wasn't Adam, it was Victoria. Sharon gasped so hard that it felt like the air had been ripped from her lungs. Victoria? Nick's face drained of all color. He stepped back, shaking his head violently. No. No, that's impossible. She wouldn't, she couldn't. But Noah's expression said it all. She told me to stay quiet, he whispered. Said it wasn't my business. That if I exposed her and Audra's secret deals, I'd be hurting the family. I didn't listen. Tears spilled freely down Sharon's face. She tried to protect her company, and she almost killed you. Nick felt a storm rising inside him, rage, betrayal, disbelief. His own sister. He could barely breathe. I'll kill her, he muttered under his breath, pacing the room. I swear, if she's behind this. Nick, stop, Sharon cried, grabbing his arm. You can't. We have to be smart. We have to let Victor handle this. But the mention of Victor's name sent another wave of dread through the room. Because Victor Newman was already at the hospital, and when he entered, the atmosphere shifted immediately. The air turned electric. Sharon stood, clutching the paper with Noah's written note, while Nick's jaw tightened. Victor's gaze went from his grandson to Sharon, then to Nick. He's awake, Victor said, his voice low, gravelly. Tell me what he said. Nick hesitated, his throat dry. He said Audra was involved. And that she had help. Victor's eyes narrowed. Help from who? Nick's silence said it all. Victor's face hardened. You'd better not be implying what I think you are. Sharon stepped forward carefully. Victor. Noah believes Victoria was connected. He said she and Audra were making secret deals, and when he found out. Enough. Victor roared, his voice shaking the walls. You think my daughter would harm her own nephew? Sharon flinched at his outburst, but she didn't back down. Victor, you know what Victoria's been like lately. Obsessed with control, with the company, with power. If Noah discovered something that could ruin her, maybe she panicked. Victor's glare could have frozen fire. My family doesn't panic, Sharon. My daughter wouldn't risk her soul for business. But as much as he wanted to believe that, a flicker of doubt crossed his face. Victor knew Victoria's ambition had crossed dangerous lines before. He had warned her many times about her alliance with Audra Charles. And now, with Noah lying broken in a hospital bed, it was a connection he could no longer ignore. I'll handle this, Victor said coldly, turning on his heel. Victor, Sharon called out, but he was already gone, his fury barely contained.